How's it going, everybody? My name is Ged. This is Fabulous Flicks, and with me, as always, of course, Tyler, the Rogue Leader, and my guest from last week has decided to join us back. First of all, Tyler, hello. How are you now?
I'm all right. How are you guys? It's nice to see you again, Rich. Didn't scare you off?
No, not yet.
We're working on it. We're working on it, but he seems to be rather resilient. Tyler, it was great to see you this weekend. For those that have been kind of following mine and Tyler chatting, we got to go up and see his and his lovely wife's new place, and I got to shoot a bit of video. I did a wire run kind of video of 3 a while ago, so I'm looking forward to kind of posting that in the coming days, kind of give you guys an update as to what it looks like from studs to now drywall and what the speakers look like and challenges that were faced and stuff that worked out really well. I realized that we don't really look level here, do we, Rich? Kind of look like you're sitting out there in the background. Anyway, so tonight was the final, or sorry, last night, 9 o'clock, final episode, House of the Dragon. You know, we've talked both kind of individually and even as a group. Tyler and I have talked a lot about this, the show being, you know, yeah, it's amazing, but sometimes it's stressful to watch. It's a lot to digest sometimes, and I think it's safe to assume that this was the hardest one finale. For me. What's that?
Yeah. It was the hardest one for me, the finale.
Yeah, it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
So I guess it's funny because normally I'll come into one of these and I have kind of two or three kind of things I want to touch on and topics I want to kind of discuss around. But really, Eamon, like, what in the actual fuck did you think was gonna happen? Like,
we start
really?
There? Is that where we're gonna start?
Yeah, you know, I just fuck it. Let's just dive right into it. At what point did he think that starting this conflict would have been a good idea? Like, Tyler, help me understand this.
Well, I had a weird moment when it was all going on, because when he was like, obviously he lost control of Vhagar. Is it Vhagar? Vhagar. Right? He lost control, and when he murdered his poor cousin, he had a look on his face like, uh-oh, like I totally was just messing around. I didn't mean to do that. Which, to me, I've been trying to figure out his character now, because all he does, like we've talked about, he just stares like with that, like, you know, sociopathic kind of I want to murder you stare. And that was the first moment I got from him that kind of made it seem like, yeah, I'm a dick, but like I didn't really want to kill my cousins. And then, you know, obviously he ends up doing that, but it was never really his intention. So yeah, he messed up. And yeah, he's the reason why they're all going to be going to war, because Rhaenyra surprisingly was going a different path.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. And I think that before I kind of, because I want to touch on a couple things that you just talked about. And I think that was kind of the positive surprise, and what had really started to get her some support was, unlike kings in the past, she did not want to send her allies to war. She did not want to sit on the Iron Throne if it was covered in ash and bone. Like, she was very logical. Obviously, it was pissing Daemon off. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But just a couple things to clarify on your points. Remember, those are his nephews, not his cousins.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so those are his nephews. Yeah. And he's always been the shit disturber. He's well read. He's an incredible swordsman. He rides the biggest dragon in the world, being Vhagar. But even before that, Lucerys didn't want to open fire on Vhagar. So if you go back and watch that scene, when he flies into him, and was it I forget his dragon's name off the top of my head.
Yeah, because when he
torches him, he's like, no, listen to me, obey. He, like, this was kind of, it went back to one of the original episodes where Viserys was talking to Rhaenyra, and he says, you know, the perception that we control the dragons is false.
Yeah.
It's a farce. We do not control them. We're no different than anybody else. And this is really the first time in the Game of Thrones universe you've seen dragons basically say, I don't even care that you're on my back. This is my show. And yeah, that escalated, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Aemon did not want to kill his cousin at all. He just wanted to scare him. But you had to know that Aemon was going to go too far.
Yeah.
The dragons kind of decided what's now going to play out in Westeros.
Yeah.
Now, do you know how there's dragons that don't have riders? We could talk about the one that Daemon goes and see and stuff like that. But do you think dragons are naturally like murderous to each other? Like, there's not many of them.
Well, they're not butterflies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's probably something similar to like lions on the savannah, right? They have their own territories, but occasionally they'll clash and they'll fight if they have to. But I don't think that they're out to conquer other dragons or anything like that.
That's fair, actually. Yeah, it's funny. I wouldn't have sat on your side on this one, Rich. But actually, I think you make a valid point. Like, they're going to eat when they have to. Yeah. I'm surprising that they're as submissive as they are.
Yeah.
Like, Daemon's literally going to rally wild dragons halfway through this episode.
Oh yeah. Well, he's like, I don't got swordsmen. I got to go get a dragon, right?
Yeah.
But let's wrap up Lukey boys here. What's his name? Lucerys?
Yeah, Lucerys, Luke.
Let's wrap up his story. For one, when he first lands in is it Storm's End?
Storm's End, yeah. The House of the Baratheon, who can't read.
Yeah. For one, we saw Storm's End in the Game of Thrones series, did we not? Like, that's where Stannis was. That's where Melisandre was. All that stuff.
Correct.
Right? I don't ever recall seeing a big circular column as the castle. I could be wrong, but it seemed new to me. But maybe I'm just forgetting. But I love
maybe by the time Game of Thrones comes around, it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, they rebuild it. Yeah.
No. Like, it gets destroyed in season 2 of this.
Yeah. But I love the imagery, like the big Storm's End, and it's literally just a friggin' miserable storm there. And the shot of
on Camino,
and it did. And it looked like the original Jurassic Park with T-Rex. Like when Lucerys lands, and he looks over the wall, and you just see Vhagar's head just lift up this in the rain and like look over. I was like, oh boy, like get on that dragon now, and I would have pieced out.
Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah, you were not
first. Tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Yeah, he's running a baby pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, the reason why you were sent, and part of what Daemon said to them all, and even his brother had said, like, if we ride on dragons, it's a show of force, right?
Yeah, it's more convincing.
Yeah, we'll be messengers, but it's going to convince. When you show up and Vhagar's already sitting there, like, who are you convincing?
Yeah, you basically brought a tricycle to a drag race.
Yeah.
I got my big wheels, pinks. Yeah. Like, it was a no contest. Yeah.
Lucerys always kind of came off as like the timid, the shy, the not quite ready for stuff. So he was probably obviously war, right, is thrusting him into something he wasn't quite ready for. And even Rhaenyra kind of knew that. Like, you guys aren't supposed to do any like attacks or anything. Like, you are strictly messengers. And it's still, unfortunately backfires for him.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap up for lunch for Vhagar. Lunch for Vhagar, Lucerys. We basically know that is going to start the war.
Yeah. But visually a great scene though. Like, stunning. Incredible. And you knew once he popped up above the clouds, you just knew he was getting eaten in half. Like
100%. I don't know if he was going to get eaten or torched. Yeah, but I knew he was not getting away.
Yeah, he was not going home. The second he showed up, he saw Vhagar was at Storm's End already. You knew it wasn't ending well for him.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out if it was going to be a dragon thing or if a battle, a one-sided beatdown.
And I love that the Baratheon said, no, like, not under my house. There'll be no bloodshed. I was like, okay, he's going to get a chance to get away. But I was like, yeah, he's not going to.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah. He's not getting
Why away. They would let Aemond leave the castle is beyond me. Because he's there with a marriage pact. Baratheon is going to be complicit in his death. He was under his watch. He should have been able to contain with all of his whatever they're called, for him to not leave the castle.
The other thing I find funny, and again, there's no other way around it, but like when they bring word, like Daemon brings word that he's been killed, I'm just like, how do they know? Like, he was flying a dragon above the clouds, above a storm. This dragon gets eaten in half. It falls down to God knows where, and it's like they just like we can't even find planes that fall off the radar, right?
You have a theory on this, right?
I'm wondering, because we don't get a time period between those two events. So I'm wondering if maybe like during that storm, because obviously the sea's got lots of chop in it and everything, they may not have been that far because they were going through the like the landscape and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if literally two halves of a dragon washed up on shore and someone went to Baratheon and the Baratheon was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. You think, Rich, you think Baratheon sent word, right?
That's my thing. Probably just trying to get some last second goodwill with the with Rhaenyra,
because Baratheon share blood with Rhaenys. Rhaenys is part Baratheon, right, or something like that. Yeah, I agree. I think Baratheon was a whistleblower.
Yeah,
it sure wasn't Aemon. Aemon wasn't sending a raven being like
on the ground.
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
it's gonna be noticeable.
Yeah,
but I thought it was funny how fast they report that stuff, because just today's day and age, but back then it's like, I don't know. I feel like Aemon could have like secretly rode that mystery for a while.
Yeah, Baratheon had to be the whistleblower.
Yeah,
had to be. Okay. I want to jump back and talk about the role of Rhaenys Targaryens. We're basically going to go all the way back, kind of the beginning of the episode. Something jumped out at me, and it jumped out at me a couple times, is she's never bent the knee to Rhaenyra. So at the beginning of this episode, when one of the two twin brothers brings her the crown and swears his allegiance, they crown her. Everybody bends the knee except Rhaenys. When Rhaenyra enters the war room or the chamber, everybody bows. Everyone kind of does this except for Rhaenys. What are your thoughts on this? Is that a statement? Is it a sign of mutual respect? Do you think it bothers Rhaenyra? Do you think she sees her as an equal? Like, I'd love to know both your guys' thoughts on this, because it is it's a statement. In the beginning of the episode, she's on one side, everyone's on the other. They all bend except her.
Yeah, it was something I was paying keen eye to, especially the scene outside. You see them, it's like this long swooping shot of everyone dropping, and the last person at the back is Rhaenys, and she just stands there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like in that world, you got to bend the knee. So like, does she, I don't know, like maybe she just thinks she's an equal, or she shouldn't have to because she's blood to her. I don't know.
Rich?
She's pretty...
I think she's probably just trying to stay out of everything. She doesn't want, at that point, she wants to talk to her husband, because both of those scenes happen before we see her husband come back into the picture. Yeah. And so she very much wanted them to come back in together with a collective decision on how to go about what is about to happen here. So I think that was just her not taking a side until she had time to discuss with her husband and figure out what their family would collectively do.
No, I think that's a good point, because she was waiting to see where Corlys was going to align their powers. And yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see moving forward if there's a scene where people have to, bow or bend the knee, if she does, now that they've put their force behind her. But yeah, I guess she was remaining neutral in the fight, but she can't be neutral any longer. She's Switzerland.
I think that she views herself as an equal. I think she feels like she doesn't have to bend the knee. I feel she believes herself to be a trusted equal advisor to Rhaenyra. And I'm going to go out on a limb, obviously, because I have no idea. But I think you're going to see that be a very positive thing. If it was a man king, that would never be stood for. But a man king would have gone to war right away. He would have been trying to surround King's Landing. Rhaenyra is being very human, being very real, being a lot more logical about the whole thing. I think Rhaenys is doing it on purpose, and I think Rhaenyra is okay with it.
Well, it probably comes down to Rhaenyra in the end, because if she's fine with her doing her thing, then it's not a big deal. But most people would be like, bend the damn knee.
Yeah.
It's just like your mannerisms you do around royalty, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on Rhaenys at all? Or you want to wrap that up and move on to something else?
No, I guess my only question is when they sent the brothers off, there was 3 dragons that flew off. Was Rhaenys one of them?
Yeah.
She was going to go protect
Rhaenys was going
the Narrows or whatever they called it.
Yeah, she was going to patrol Stepstones.
Somewhere in the Stepstones, yeah.
Yeah.
The trade routes, yeah.
Meleys is her dragon's name.
Okay.
Yeah, she was going to take Meleys to go to the Stepstones. Yeah. So we see Daemon getting agitated. I love the fact that you saw them back on this bridge again, the same bridge that they met on all those years ago. Syrax lands in the same spot, but this time very different.
Yeah.
We were watching, and when Syrax landed, you were like, Daemon, let's go. Like he was just like Daemon was literally ready to take Otto's head off, and the whole I'd rather be fed to my dragons than there was some long list of words there. Like you can really see where Daemon's head is at versus Rhaenyra's. Like he's ready to swing. Do you see that being something that divides Rhaenyra and Daemon? So it's a question for both you guys. Is this something that divides Rhaenyra and Daemon, or is this something they use to their advantage? Do you see these opposites of opinions end up being better for both? Tyler, you go first.
It could have been opposites, but now with Lucerys killed, Rhaenyra is going to go full
ham.
Yeah, Daemon's now going to play into her as like her key strategist, right? Like, I need you to tell me how we can make them all pain or like feel pain and burn, essentially.
Yeah,
I don't see her being very civil moving forward.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I think that he is going to be an absolute firecracker, and she's just going to kind of let him do his thing because it's going to inflict the most pain on the people that have done this to her.
Yeah. It's too bad for multiple reasons. I would have loved to have seen how that would have worked in season 2, how it would have worked with her being that civil voice and him being the one that wanted to engage in battle all the time. But yeah, I unfortunately have to agree with both of you. That look when she turned around at the end.
Oh, that look,
there's no coming back.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's done. And I love that he still calls him Lord Strong. What a dick.
And she technically, if you really think about it, like she lost 2 kids that day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like she ain't happy.
Tyler, you got anything you want to cover?
Just a general observation. I don't know why in my head I thought this was going to be a lot more action heavy than what it was. It was more so a big plot setup for the upcoming war. And I guess it makes sense. This war between the family is going to be I'm assuming it's going to drag out, at least all of next season. Anyways.
I would think so.
Yeah. And now we know what our true, meat of the story is. They had to do all these time jumps, to get to this point to set it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was maybe expecting a little more action, but like, again, the dragon scene was it was very well shot. It was beautiful and it was tense. So it did give me what I was looking for. I just thought we'd get a little bit more.
Yeah. I admit I thought I was going to see the first strike happen, not necessarily being a young prince in the mouth of a dragon, but I thought we were going to see something, and we just didn't.
Yeah, because other than Daemon's one man versus the Stepstones, like big action scene in episode 3, whatever it was, we haven't really had a whole lot since. Like even in the penultimate, which is normally where we get the big action sequences, we didn't get. So
yeah,
it was. I surprisingly, a little light on the actual action. Obviously, high in tension and drama, but
yeah. Rich, any thoughts? Anything you want to cover? Anything that jumped out at you?
Well, just on that note, this whole season's been almost a like a character building, get the backstories in. They haven't really needed the big, huge action scenes. I think they're going to save that for the next season when we actually have this all-out brawl happen.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if you think about Game of Thrones, they had to talk about the backstories as it was going on. I guess I didn't until you just mentioned that. I didn't really think about season 1 as being the drama-filled backstory. Like it's not something I'd really ever thought about, right? But I guess that makes sense.
Come to is because they had to get through like, okay, we have like all these little things that happened as they were growing up that has led them to be these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're going to be pretty much done with time jumps.
I think so too. Yeah.
That's a valid point. Yeah, if it ends up being 4 or 5 seasons, I think that it'll end up getting a lot of praise for creating the backstories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So do we want to have one prediction each for next season, or do we just want to go right into scoring it?
I'm good with scoring it.
Yep. Would you like to start us off?
Sure. The episode again was a little not 100%, was it?
Give me episode and season.
Yes, the episode didn't go the way I was picturing in my brain, but I thought we did get a major death, which I think we all predicted, just not the actual person. I thought the dragon scenes were just were awesomely shot. And I love how they did the little switcheroo. They tried to go a different route with it, but because of the tragedy, they set it up that way. So I thought it had some nice twists and turns. The leaked episode, I did not spoil me. So, everything was a surprise. I enjoyed it. I'm going to go for the episode. I'm going to go 8.7. I think it was solid.
That's higher than you normally go. Just so you know, Rich, 9 is the highest score ever given in any show we reviewed. We like 7s are good in our book. We rate things pretty low.
I think it was the second best episode of the season.
All right. And what about this? And what about the first season overall?
First season overall, I think it was like a solid 8.4 for the whole season. Yeah,
that's pretty much what I guessed you were going to pick. Yep.
What did I give Lord of the Rings? I can't remember. 8.1. I gave 8.1 Lord of the Rings, I think. Or
did you?
Ring of Power. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were higher than me. So 8.4 for this season, for the whole season. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was 8.5 for Ring of Power.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to give this episode, I'm going to give the exact same score you did, which is kind of rare, at 8.7. If I could be super critical, it is, and it's only for my own selfish needs.
Yeah.
I feel like the episode we just watched was a really good second last episode.
Yeah.
It was that episode that left you just saying, oh my God, I can't wait for next week. And instead now it's, oh my God, I can't wait for Q3 2024. I'm pissed because I got to wait until 2024 to see how mad Rhaenyra is. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Yeah.
But this to me was the best second last episode of any season ever. But because of that,
it's going to be a long wait.
It's
going to be a long wait.
And for the series in general, I'm going to give it a solid 8.5. With the one caveat that if it ends up being a 5-season series, it didn't end up being a backstory, I'm going to boost that to 8.9 because I will have been so pumped at how they actually told the backstory in a series rather than just verbally tell a story as the current story's going on.
Yeah.
So I was 8.7 with you and I was 1 point higher at 8.5. So that kind of tied it with the Ring of Power for me, which is odd because they are two very differently digestible programs. Sorry.
Yeah, they're very different.
Sorry, Luke. No, a little too early on the digestible, I guess. Rich, I know this is kind of your first rating,
I know,
but
I have
so
no reference point on.
Yeah,
this.
so it's basically 1 to 10, 7's good, 8's ridiculous. We've only ever had 1 9, but that doesn't mean you have to rate it as hard as we do. So if you want to be an easy grader, all I ask is that you explain why you gave it that.
I'm because I have no reference point. Like, this was probably my favorite episode actually out of this season.
Okay.
So with no reference point, I'd have to go like a solid 8-2.
Yeah.
I think we could have gotten a little bit more at the very end there, like even a one-liner out of Rhaenyra at the end instead of just the face. A one-liner and then a cutoff or an action or something.
Yeah, like
could have been a little bit more. Just
like tomorrow we go to King's Landing or something like that.
Something.
Okay,
right?
that's fair. I like that actually.
That's not to say that I like that face was just powerful. Just the way that she stared into the camera there and just like no words were needed. They would have been beneficial, I think, but they weren't needed.
Yeah.
And so, and then the entire episode was just incredible. The visuals, the story, the menacingness of the dragons flying through the clouds and in the caves.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Yeah. And what about the series overall, the first season?
Series overall, probably rated a 8.3.
Yeah.
Overall.
Fair.
Thought it was really well done. Again, if they are going the route of a backstory and they're done with the time jumps were a little weird at first.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, if that does end up being what it is, then they make a lot more sense. And I'm glad that they did them.
Yeah.
I just wish that there was a little bit more explanation on them.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think what made me so uncomfortable is the look that Rhaenyra gives at the very end is very similar to the look that Stacey gives me when I'm going to like change the speakers downstairs, or like when I needed to buy that last mini. Like that cut deep. Like I've felt that stare before, that I'm going to kill you look. And normally it starts with, so I was online yesterday looking at speakers and you could literally just Photoshop Stacey into that, and I could feel that happening. Well, guys, thank you so much, Tyler. As always, man, thanks so much for joining each time. I love that we do these. Rich, thanks so much for joining the last couple weeks. That was a lot of fun, and you brought up a couple things tonight that I didn't even think of. I mean, your point at the end about just give me that one line at the end of the episode. Right at the end of the episode, I agree. I would have loved that. So appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And I will see you Wednesday for Andor.
Correct.
All right. Well, until next time.
See you guys next season.
Yeah, we'll see you next season. Maybe we'll find something in the meantime.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, guys.